The ballistic battery on this thing finally gave up the ghost. I have a show to take it to in a couple of weeks. It'll run with a dead battery, but I want to replace the battery. The problem is Ballistic Battery, the company, is no longer in business. I made a custom, very custom situation for the battery, which is under the fuel tank and under a electronics shelf tray in there. I'll show you what I mean in a few minutes. To pull the fuel tank off of this bike, I jack it up like this. I have some 5/16 metal fuel line quick disconnects in here. While we're here, this bike has this custom one-off underseat oil tank that was modified, well, made by RZV Steve, and then Julian made this oil filler for me, and then I had to go get it welded. And I added some other brackets and stuff for the seat mount. Those are disconnected. They shut off when you disconnect them. Fuel tank is resting over there. Here's similar under the hood stuff, custom stuff that I've done to this bike. This tray, Julian actually made that for me. I had it powder coated, and then I set up all the electronics on it. And the battery is underneath here. These bolts right here, there's nuts and plates and stuff underneath there holding the ballistic battery, and I'll get to that in just a few minutes. It looks something like this right now. I have to tie that harness back, taking most of the parts off, and I've got a few parts sitting over here. We should get to the battery reveal in just a moment here. I haven't done this in a while. Oh, I need to disconnect the battery. There's a 2-pin connector here I had to disconnect. The battery fits in here, something like that. Take these guys off. One bracket. There you go, one dead ballistic battery. I looked around a little bit to try to find a battery that has this same form factor, because it sure would be nice to just use this same configuration, but I don't think it's going to be possible. There's an anti-gravity battery that is about, well, is this size, but I do not believe I'm going to be able to fit it inside here. I have this horrible feeling it's going to end up back here somewhere, somehow. This is what this thing looks like off the bike. I'm going to take measurements of this battery and see if I can find something that'll fit in there, but I really don't think I will find anything that fits just right in this form factor. There's very little room for anything else in here. I have a lot of interference. I mean, this thing just barely fits in here in this area. I'll see what I can do. Well, like I said, I may end up with a battery back here somewhere. Maybe there's room underneath this tailpiece. Is 1.6 volts good? I have tried charging this thing several times, and it will not hold a charge anymore. This was the smallest AGM battery I could find. It definitely will not fit underneath this plate. No way. Looks like it would fit really nice right here if I eliminate the seat on this bike. I think that might look kind of funny. If I didn't have this strengthening bracket back here under the tail, it possibly would fit under there. But I think this one's out. This is an anti-gravity AG-401. I might be able to make it fit underneath here, either under this bracket or on top. There was some interference when I put the tailpiece on there, but I think there's some little nubs in there I could grind off and make it fit. Then I would rewire going this direction, the negative and positive, and so on. I think I can possibly make it fit underneath here. The power valve controller and the CDI mount on this panel like so. Problem is, these are the 4 holes I used for the ballistic battery. So the anti-gravity battery blocks off these mounting holes. I really only need these 2 for the CDI. I think I might have a plan. I can't offset it that much, it'll interfere with other stuff underneath. Here's a quick update. Nothing's done yet. Actually, I'm working with this stuff to try to figure out what I'm going to do. I got it. I have my cardboard battery underneath this tray. Hoping to get the new one soon if the guy will ship it like I requested. Then I can do my final assembly and put this thing back together. Look what came via UPS today. The eBay vendor came through like a champ. I emailed them and asked them to expedite. And this thing got here in 2 days, 3 days from Las Vegas. Here's the little battery. It's interesting, all this foam has sticky back stuff on it. I guess you can use to fill gaps and whatnot. Their sticker left some nice goop on here for me to clean off. That's a little better than the Ballistic battery. Yeah, the battery came in today, but I'm having trouble getting this thing configured as a real permanent solution, so I think I'm going to drill a few holes and tie wrap this thing on here and then order this. That's made specifically for that anti-gravity battery, and that will fit on here and give me a real nice solid mounting solution. Here's my temporary solution for the anti-gravity battery. I did order that other battery box, so that's going to replace this situation. I've got little foam pieces all over to absorb shock and whatnot. I can take the CDI off from the top. I had to use my other threaded brackets and sticky tape them down. Like I said, I needed to be able to take this off from the top without having to remove this whole assembly. Oops, forgot something. Needs to hook up to the battery. It's my connector for charging and or USB so I can keep my GoPro powered on. So I'll take it all apart again and hook that up. It's new battery startup time. Turn the ignition key on. I'm going to give it one more try. I'm hoping I don't have to pull the carburetors off. A lot of warnings with that anti-gravity battery to be careful that your bike is not overcharging. This thing certainly isn't overcharging, but it looks like I have a carburetor problem. I'm going to have to look into this and probably fix a stuck float valve on one of the carburetors. This is high on my list of top 10 least favorite things to do. Pull the fairings, pull the air filters, and pull the carburetors. I have a pissing carburetor. I'll find out which one in just a minute, but I'll take them all off. Fun, huh? Not sure what causes this. Might get a hold of Bill Wilson, see if he can help me out here. Bill called this back misting. Has something to do with the reed valves sending a pulse back through the carburetors backwards. See how dirty these right side carbs are? And the left side has kind of one dirty one and one clean one. Guess which one is leaking? The float valve is stuck. It's the clean one. I put this thing up on the lift yesterday and the hydraulic unit's leaking on this lift. Looks like we get an unplanned episode of Ken's Garage, replacing seals in a hydraulic unit. That big tube thing. I thought I had this thing ready for the show. I guess I don't. Now off with the tank and the seat and take all the electronics out from under the tank that I just put in there with the new battery. That's all done. Fuel tank has to be removed because to remove the carburetors you have to get to these clamp screws down here. There's two on the top, there's one, and there's one on the other side. Up we go. About the only thing I don't like about this lift, besides it's leaking hydraulic fluid, is having to turn the compressor on every time I want to use it. Next, we'll open the drains on all 4 carburetors to get all the fuel out of them, like so. Now I can breathe gas fumes for a while. Got a match? That would take care of the problem real quick, wouldn't it? Disconnect the fuel line from the fuel tank on both sides. Disconnect the throttle cables on both sides. We have 4 choke cables disconnected, marked with the location that they go to on this bracket. Fuel lines are disconnected on both sides. Throttle cables are disconnected on both sides. The little carburetor clamp screws are loosened up in 4 places. How about that? I'm making progress, if you can call it that. All the carburetors are off. First things first, close off all these drain screws so I don't forget to do it, and put it all back together and have fuel flow out. This is the bad one. Pretty clean in here. There's a little bit of debris inside here. It's not good, but generally speaking, it's pretty clean inside there. I know I made a tool for removing these pins. I didn't find what I was looking for, so I used the punch method, gently tapping the pin out. I am not seeing a big problem in here, but I'll pull this guy out. The tip of the needle looks pretty good. It's very clean. It's Viton tipped. I'm not finding anything wrong in here. I was kind of hoping I would, so I'll take a Q-tip and polish this float seat up real good and gently clean this guy up and hope for the best. Guess which main jets I'm looking for. See the gap right here? 230s. I don't have any. I just polished the inside of this valve seat. Hopefully that'll help. These are all cleaned up now. Put back together. I'm just waiting for Julian to give me a text so I can go pick up some 230 main jets. I did this change in the bike. I put through some deep cleaning. Quite needed it. There was a lot of greasy gook in here. This is just a messy, fire-breathing, oil-spewing monster. And while I was doing all that, this thing arrived on the porch. This will make my battery installation a little more official. This is before. I'm going to trim about a ½ an inch off of this thing to get it away from this positive terminal. I just don't like how close it is. I'm getting into final assembly. Finally, got this bracket mounted. I had to put this hex bolt in here prior to mounting this bracket, but we got some nice flatheads here because the battery sits on top of that. Some button heads here because there's clearance on that end. I trimmed it off over here to keep this terminal away from the aluminum. I did have to use some SAE zinc plated 1/4-20 fasteners here. I didn't have the right stuff in metric stainless, but it'll be hidden. Don't tell anybody. The battery is not going anywhere, is it? That's a really nice bracket. We're making progress again. Nice. I've got the carburetors on, got the fuel lines hooked up. Throttle cables are hooked up but not adjusted. I'm going to turn the petcock on. If you hear a really loud scream, it didn't work. The gas is flowing into the carburetors. Come on, work. So far so good. I don't see gas flowing anymore. I don't see anything coming out the overflows. I hope we're good. The choke cables are hooked up. Throttle cables are hooked up and manually synchronized. None of the carburetors are leaking. Tomorrow I will use this guy to do a final sync of the carburetors and then put the fairings back on. And done, ready for showtime. Back at it again today. I need to see if it'll start, then set the idle and synchronize the carburetors with that synchrometer. So here we go. idling at about 1,000 RPMs right now. It's idling at about 1,200. The 4 carburetors read about 2.5 on this meter. They're all synchronized. I think I'm good to go. Got to put the fairings on, get it waxed again. I can breathe a sigh of relief. This thing is as clean as it's been in many years. It's show worthy. Ready for the Quail motorcycle gathering. I'm looking forward to it this Saturday. Should be fun.